Okay, hi, good morning. How are you? I just posted a video with my question of the day, if it's beer or coffee, but I decided to do coffee today as well as beer. So I like an upper and a downer together if it's a mild one. I'm not condoning doing crazy things with your body, but I just personally think it's fun to have multiple things in front of you, especially to drink. When I'm on the train, when I'm on the train, this is what I love. I love an IPA, a coffee, usually an espresso, and a sparkling water. So that's my kind of liquids of choice when I'm traveling. But I'm not traveling right now. I'm in Puerto Rico. I've got a story for you about my date 2 nights ago. I was going to record yesterday, but I needed a day. I needed a mental health day. So I hope you're well. How's everybody doing in all the madness? It's just every day seems like it gets a little bit more Twilight Zone-y. I'm trying to cope, trying to not go crazy. I am quarantining by myself, but I do have a job. I have a job here in Puerto Rico, which has helped with my mental health, obviously helped with money, and I've met people at my job. So that's where I met this guy from the other day. We went on I'm going to rewind, tell you about where I'm working now. So I kind of knew somebody that hooked me up with a bartending job at this beautiful hotel/restaurant. It's one of the oldest in Puerto Rico. And when I walked into this place, even to get a beer for the first time, this was about like 2 months ago when I walked in, it had just reopened after our very strict lockdown, which ended at like 7 o'clock every night. We had to be locked down for months here, and it just got extended to 10 p.m. So I walked into this beautiful space that my friend worked at the time, and I was like, I want to be here all the time. I felt like I was on vacation. It's so beautiful. It has so much like mysticism and magic feelings, because it used to be an old convent. So there's all these stories about this place being an old convent and the nuns there, and then they built this little restaurant inside of it that has a really, really good chef. Downside is it's not vegan, but like you can't find vegan food here anyway. I pretty much can't eat in Puerto Rico without making my own food. I go to Subway, I go to this one sandwich place. I can't even eat the empanadas because they're like fried in lard. So I'm eating in my own little kitchen, which you've seen my house in some of my videos. It's like this camping house, basically. It's a small little house, but it's so cool because it's on top of this rooftop. And I feel cozy in it. I like my place. I don't have a lot of things, so it works right now. And I have this really cool bed. I uploaded a video about my skincare and my exercise, and I used a song, but it wouldn't let me upload the video because the song was it was Muse. They will not force us, we will be victorious tonight. I did this exercise routine to my favorite pump you up songs. One was Muse, one was don't look back in anger, I heard you say, take me to a place that you know, where nobody goes. Then I don't even know if those are the lyrics, but Oasis from the 90s and Muse are like two of my favorite bands that pump me up. So I just do this wild ecstatic dance by myself. You don't even need space. You just and they will not force us. So that's just an example of, I stand up when I do it though. So it's I'll stand up. I don't even need a lot of space. I'll just crank my music. Okay, crank the music, and I'll just be like, they will not force us. And I move my spine in ways where it's up and down and out and I get out of breath. So I'll just pick any song and I go nuts. And I have this bed that kind of goes, It's good for, you know what I mean? It's like surfing. I love my bed so much. Great for exercising and other things. So my point in all of this is that I posted a video 2 days ago and it just had like a clip of that song in it, and YouTube took it down. I get it, you can't use copyrighted material. I didn't monetize the video, but whatever. So you don't get to see my exercise routine, but I think you get it. So that's how I'm exercising in quarantine. I'm just like rocking out to songs. And then, I wake up sore the next morning. And I'm just like, oh my God, why am I sore? And then I remember, oh, you just like rocked out to a song. You just got to go crazy. You can do whatever you want. You can be like doing push-ups. You can do leg kicks. It's like just move your body in the way it feels like you just want to move. I mean, sometimes I do crazy stuff. I'll run all over the house. I'll jump on things. And then you feel good. So it's like 3 or 4 minutes. And your body gets sore and you get like your heart pumping. So anyway, I posted this exercise routine. You're not going to see it, but I tried to explain it to you just now. Anyway, this is all connected to what's going on with my life right now. So I'm working at this cool place in Puerto Rico. I'm bartending and waitressing, okay? So I feel sometimes like I digress. I'm 41. We all know that. But I always go back to serving jobs. It's like I have career aspirations, but it's just such quick money. And I needed to get involved in the community here. I also needed to get out of my friggin' house. And let's be honest, I didn't have anything else going on because I just moved here. So I'm working there. I'll post a clip of me at work. This guy comes in with 2 other people that know the owner, 2 of my regulars, which are like young people, maybe about my age, but you can tell that they look old. They look actually like in their 40s, and they spend a ton of money. So they're buying wine. They're buying it's a very expensive restaurant. So they're buying like all the things on the menu, just like oysters and lamb and bring it on. It's like disgusting that we serve lamb and what else, pork belly and shit like that. But this chef is like actually really good, and he's cool. Like I can handle his personality, and I like the owner. If I like the owner and they don't micromanage me and aren't just like assholes, I can deal with many different places. I can deal with a place. But it's like hard. I've gone through so many jobs. I've had so many jobs. One time I wanted to be a flight attendant, and they wanted my job history for the last, 15 years. And I was like, that is going to be literally impossible. How do I say, I worked at some random restaurant in Glendale for 2 weeks, and then the owner got pissed that I went out with the bartender that night and, fired me because her friend complained about me the next day. So that was 2 weeks, even though I was a good waitress. And then I friggin' got a job at a margarita bar. And then in between that, I'm developing an app. And then I produce these shows. And then what else do I do? I worked as a freelance videographer. I am the most random job person. I would like to settle down in one career that gives me a fucking salary. That would be nice. But I don't know what that is. If anybody can help me, if anybody knows what I can do with my life, please tell me. It's always the question, right? Now with the pandemic and the friggin' coronavirus, I don't know. I have no fucking clue. What do people do? I don't want a ton of money. I'd like to have enough. I'd like to take care of my parents. My dream would be to be like, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to pay off your house, and here's $100,000 to go on vacations with and, adopt dogs. My mom's a dog adopter. My dad likes old cars. I'd be like, Dad, just buy some old cars and tinker in your garage with cars. I want to give them money. I want to thank them because they adopted me, and they funded my wedding, which was expensive back then because I was a little shit. Back when I was 22 and I got married to this Christian guy, and I thought I had to have the big poofy white dress. I had 11 bridesmaids, 2 pastors. We got married in a dairy barn. I was mental back then, and my friggin' parents, bless their souls. They paid, I think, like 12 grand for my wedding. I didn't even have alcohol at my wedding. Look, I'm drinking alcohol now. I didn't even have alcohol. I was that Christian. Back when I was 21 or 22, I'm like, nobody staged an intervention and told me, don't get married, Maggie. Like, I stayed like that. I stayed married for 5, almost 6 years. Thank God I didn't have kids. But I mean, at one point, we were going to church every week. We were like involved in this friend group that were all starting to get pregnant. And at one point, I remember thinking, I said to myself, my womb is throbbing. My womb is throbbing. I thought that I wanted to have babies. But it's like, thank God I didn't, because I would have stayed in that marriage. I'd have a kid right now. I can't even control and handle myself. I don't even ethically think that we should bring new people here. They take away from the earth, and they didn't ask for this. I'm not capable of, even if I was a billionaire, I couldn't protect my kid from the things that could possibly happen to them. But like, if I was a billionaire, I would, I'd almost justify having a kid a little bit more, because I could protect them and make sure, like, okay, you're always going to have enough money. You're not going to hit like 45 and have to go friggin' be a prostitute or something to find money, because I'm also poor. I would justify if I had more money, but like, the people that have kids don't have money. Anyway, I get off on tangents, and like 5 of you that watch this have told me it's okay. But it's how my train of thought works, and everything is connected. So I'm working at this. First, I'm getting terrorized by a fly. I thought maybe it was like a government fly that was going to kill me this morning. No, I like fantasized in my head. I was like, this fly really won't leave me alone. Is it just going to like stab me? It's going to go, I mean, that's the future. Have you watched Black Mirror with the bees, that episode? So this fly is flying around. He's just like everywhere. And he is like on me more than any fly ever has been on me. And he won't go. He's still here. But he's not going to kill me. He might have cameras. It might be a camera. I made a short film one time years ago in Italy about bugs having cameras in their eyes, and they zoom around and they watch humans, and then the technology gets smaller and smaller to the point where it's just cameras everywhere, but they're like the size of cells, and they're like literally inside our bodies, and they're hooked up to the brains of beings on different dimensions that study humans. And then my main character is one of those beings that longs for humans because he likes dicks. He likes the idea of penetrating women because he's just like an egomaniac. So he gets obsessed with humans and then starts to just like program his brain. So it's so like integrated in his own brain, like he is the human. He's the human experience, and that is God. That was my story 5 years ago, and everyone was like, what the fuck? You can watch it if you go far enough on my YouTube page. I think it's called Telefono. I could talk about random shit forever, but I'm trying to keep this like to a reasonable amount of time, and I want to tell you about my date because it's kind of interesting, I think. Okay, I hate the word too. You know when you're editing, the word in the timeline is just like this, it's really low and it's down. It's like a caterpillar. And I always like see those ums. When I'm editing like more produced videos, I do these kind of unedited, but I'm like, those fucking ums, those little like little caterpillars. I'm like, cut. So I'm bartending at this beautiful place where I like, and this guy comes in with these 2 other people that are friends of the owners. And I'm like, okay. He's like giving me those eyes. He's got like these doe eyes. And he's looking at me and kind of smiling, flirting a little bit. And I remembered a comment somebody put in one of my videos that was like, I can't even ask girls out these days because women are just so weird about people asking them out. That was kind of the gist. Like, they're just like, don't talk to me. And I didn't want to be that girl. He had a hat on. Hats can be deceiving. He was sitting. One time, to tell you, oh my God, this is a side note. One time I was in the pool at my old apartment complex in Los Angeles, and I'm swimming around, and there's these people I knew sitting down, and then there's this new guy. He's laying in a lounge chair, and he was like flirting with me, and I ended up giving him my number from the pool, and he'd never stood up, and he asked me out for a date, came to my house, and he was like shorter than me. I'm 5'2". I mean, that's pretty short. So also chairs can be deceiving. We just don't know how tall you are. I don't have a problem dating short guys. I've dated a lot of short men, but like they at least have to be my height. And this guy was a total douchebag. We ended up blocking each other because he had this band where he dressed like a baby and he wore diapers. And there was this one time that somebody put poop on my front porch, and I couldn't tell if it was the girl that I had to evict from my house or it was him. And then I thought it was him, and I called him, and I was like, did you have poop put on my front porch? And he was like, he went nuts. He's like, how dare you ask me this? You are so crazy. And I realized it wasn't him. But to this day, it's a mystery. I think it's that fucking cunt I had to evict. So many weird things happen in LA. I have so many stories about just crazy roommate situations. I'm glad I'm like alone right now because I get put loose in public with other humans and just like chaos ensues. So my date, this guy comes in, they're eating. I give his friend, who's a girl, so there's a couple and there's this guy about my age, and I said, is your friend single? So I asked if he was single. I gave her my number, and I said, give this to him if you want. So I left it up to the girl, because girls know, like, maybe he's single, but he's chatting up somebody. Maybe he's a playa. Maybe, I don't know. I just trusted her. I like this person. So she gives him my number, and that night he texts me, and we chat for about a week. But this is last week when my kitten died. So it was like a really traumatic week. We made plans to see each other. He lives like 20 minutes away in this beach town. And I was like, I can't this week, but we made plans for the other night. So he texts me a few things back and forth, like a few red flags. One of them I did a video about, like we were going to go to Chinese food. And then I hate telling guys that I'm vegan right away because they usually hate that and it's a deal breaker, but I have nothing to lose. So I was like, he wanted to go to 2 restaurants. One of them was a Chinese place. And I was like, I prefer the Chinese place because I'm vegan and I can always find something. And then he sent me that text, well, do you mind if we sit outside because I'm afraid of COVID? And I was like, oh, you know, it's a red flag. It's a red flag because anybody that's like not 80 or living with their grandmother and says they're afraid of COVID makes me nervous because I'm like, are you super left? I just don't get along with people that are scared of the virus. For whatever reason, I want to enjoy other viewpoints, but it's just like mathematically, if we're looking at the left guys that I've dated and why I don't get along with them, I've analyzed it a little bit, and I think it's because they like to tell me exactly how they feel, but they aren't open to any alternative ideas that I might have. They like immediately dismiss you. They roll their eyes. They think you're stupid. They're like, ugh. And that's exactly what this guy ended up doing, by the way. So I'm like, okay, so you're left, you're set in your opinions, and you're not open to anything else, and you are addicted to the media, and you believe anything anyone tells you. And you're probably so ingrained in normal society and money and consumerism and regular, like, mentalities of humans that you're not open to outside and more interesting ideas and conversation. Okay, I recognize that that is a judgment that I had of this guy, like just from one text. So I'm trying to be more open-minded and nice. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna go to Chinese food. Let's just like enjoy the Chinese food. So I get dressed up and I'm getting ready, realizing like I wanna look pretty. To the degree of which I look pretty and or prepare myself for a date is usually the degree to which I'm kind of interested in this person from like a first glance. If it's Tinder, it's just like the quality of chats we've had, the quality of the pictures and the assumptions I've made about the person that I think you are. So I'll look cuter. And I make certain choices like, oh, I'm going to wear a crop top, or I'm going to wear a short skirt, or I'm going to wear like little heels. Like all of those little manipulations that women do to make themselves look sexier to a man. I know it's manipulative and it's shitty, but let's just call it for what it is. And we do this. This is the fucking world we live in as human sexual apes that nobody wants to talk about. So I wear a crop top, semi-short skirt, lipstick, all the sparkly jewelry, loopy earrings, hair down. No, actually, the last choice was my hair was looking terrible that day, so I threw it in a ponytail. We go to dinner. When I saw him sitting at the table, he kind of had like a bubble in his eye, a couple bubbles in his eyes, and a soft face. He wasn't super fit. He was like fit enough where I'm not repulsed, but he looked like he'd done way too many beers, way too many like sitting around the boardroom eating bonbons and talking about friggin' graphs. So I already pegged the guy, like white collar guy with pink skin to the max, but not atrocious. And I knew from the meeting that he had a good personality, okay? So I had already bantered back and forth with him a little at the restaurant I work at, so I knew he wasn't, like, all awful. So I'm sitting at the restaurant, and guys do this. Okay, so he, like, immediately I did take a little edible. I took 2.5 grams of this tiny little mint, because it just made me like a little brighter. I've talked about edibles in the past that sometimes I take them as antidepressants, just a super low dose. It barely does anything. So calm down. Calm down, people that are like, ease off the edibles. So just started to kick in, and I'm just like feeling good. I'm having fun, being funny, or so I think. And he says the thing that all guys do when they find out you're vegan. They ask the question, which is, do you mind if I eat something with meat in it? Is it going to offend you? And I'm like, dude, I live in the world. Everybody eats animals. Am I going to judge you? Probably. These are all thoughts in my head. I'm rolling my eyes because I've been on a million dates with these guys. They think it's like the first question that they've ever asked a vegan girl. But like vegan girls are like, no, every fucking guy says the same thing. But my answer this time was the best. It was the winner answer of the evening, and actually it justified the entire date, I think. Are you ready? Because you can use this. If you're a vegan girl on a date, I know that that's not my audience whatsoever, so forgive me, people that aren't vegan. It's okay. I cracked the code and I said, sure, you can get any dish that you want, but I'm not going to kiss you afterward if it happens to have meat in it, because meat gets stuck in the crevices of your teeth and it starts to rot. And I just don't like the thought of kissing somebody that has rotting flesh in between their teeth. So whatever you want. And I said it like that. And I was just like, yeah, sure, but just like it starts to, it's in your teeth. He was like, okay. And he started thinking, and he said, well, okay. It was really funny. It was really funny because I could tell that it got to his head, not because he cares about anything other than the shame of having rotting carcass stuck in the little tiny flecks of his teeth. And then we went on to say, he was like, what if I floss? And I was like, that's fine. If you brush your teeth and if you floss, it's a possibility, but it still can have traces of it. But I'll kiss you if you floss and if you brush your teeth. But I was like, but it's still risky because I don't know if I like you enough to even do that yet. So, and then it was funny. I could tell he was in finance because he started talking about like risk and reward, that it's still like, okay, he could eat the meat. It could get caught in his teeth and then he's not going to get a kiss, or he could not eat the meat and still not get a kiss anyway. Because by that point in the date, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to kiss him. I was not like super attracted to anything but how cool he was. Like he could talk, and I could also tell that he'd traveled a lot. He was like a high quality, not high quality. He was a high like class guy, you know. So I hadn't even asked anything about what he did yet. I knew nothing about what kind of person he was. So we had this talk about the vegan stuff, and it was really funny. They bring these dumplings to the table, and they have pork in them. And later on in the date, he didn't order anything. I just ate. He ate a little bit of mine because I think he was like, he wanted the pepper steak, but then he kept on like kind of joking that he didn't want to have like the flesh in his teeth. And then at one point he was like, well, what if I eat one of these dumplings, but if I swallow it whole? And I was like, they were like about this big. And I was like, I don't think that it's going to go through your throat. Like you can swallow it, but I don't want to do CPR on you right now. And then he's like, well, I'll bite it in half. And I was like, okay. So he did, he bit it in half, swallowed it, so it didn't go in his teeth. It was amusing, and we were making each other laugh a little bit about this. Okay, so he told a story that pissed me off next. So I almost left the date at this point, after this story. So we have the banter about the teeth, what to order. Then he's like, let's look at the menu and see what vegan options are. So it's a Chinese place, and it's got like one of those places that has like 6 different pages of different types of, like, you got like your lamb section and your seafood, and then the like beef, and then there's like vegetarian in the back. So we're like, oh, so as I open it up, there's a picture of a lobster on the left-hand side. And I cover the picture of the lobster because I cannot stand to see fucking dead lobsters. Nothing enrages me more than like seeing lobsters in a tank, or it's like first of all, they're known as the cockroaches of the sea. That's what old like pirates and sailors thought about them. And they were just killed in really, really cruel ways. I've been exposed to it my whole life because my family went to seafood places, and they scream when you boil them alive. It's like fucking insane. First of all, people eat. Okay, back up. They taste amazing. I've eaten them before. I get it. I fucking get it. But there just comes a time where you just evolve beyond your taste buds. You just retrain yourself. So I'm disgusted by the fact that we eat lobsters. And mainly because the way that they kill them and the way that they store them in tanks with like their claws have stuff around them. It's just so cruel. I mean, most of the animal industry is so cruel and upsetting, and I get enraged by it, but there's something that triggers me when I see a lobster on a menu. It's not like I'm seeing a lobster in a kid's book and it's like, hi, Judy, let's go swimming today. This is like a lobster that is like meant to be dead and eaten. So I cover my hand up with the lobster, and he notices, and he says, I killed a sand dollar today. And I was like, what? First of all, I remembered as soon as he said I killed a sand dollar, I was so pissed. And I thought, as a kid, when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, we'd go to the beach with my family, and these sand dollars, they're like these shells that have a little being inside of them, and they wiggle around. People collect them for their beautiful shells, but when they collect them for their shells, the little body inside literally suffocates and dies because it gets dried up. So I always thought it was so cruel that these shells were in stores everywhere, and you'd see that. And as a kid, I would look, and you rattle them, and you can tell if it had a body inside and it had been murdered because it has like a little rattling from the dead body inside. I think sometimes that maybe there's not bodies inside. I don't know how the sand dollars work, and I remember as a kid, and so these sand dollars would roll up onto the beach, and I would throw them back into the ocean because I could not even bear as a kid the thought of, and I already had the wherewithal in my mind that, like, of course you throw them back in the ocean. Well, this fucking dude tells me that he was walking on the beach today and he stepped on one. He didn't crush it. He just like felt it with his foot. And he dug in the sand, grabbed it out, held it in his hand, looked at it, thought, this is pretty. I want this in my house. And then proceeded to hold it, walk it back to his fucking stupid house, and it died in his hand. And he said, in his defense a little bit, he said, I felt really bad in this moment that it had died. And it was the first time that I'd felt bad about something dying in my hands. And I said, oh, you've done this before? And he was like, yeah, we'd collect them all the time as kids. We have so many in my house, and I never felt bad about them before. And I said, okay, so even if you weren't collecting them, if one just rolled up on the beach, would you pick it up and throw it back to save its life? And he was like, no. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I said, you're a fucking monster. I told him that. I'm like, what is wrong with people that they would see a living being and have the ability, even if he didn't want it at that moment, you wouldn't fucking reach down, pick it up, and throw it back into, look, I'm spitting. I'm so pissed. And then it just got me thinking, I was like, by this time I'm like one sake in, one sake, one Peroni, and I'm like, I can't even like process why some people are monsters and some aren't, because he was obviously a fucking monster as a kid, and I, for whatever reason, wasn't. I couldn't help that I'm just born like this and I would throw it back and he doesn't. So I'm like, okay, just like don't go there in your mind. Like I had to like take my brain and go, shut up. Like don't try to solve why people are assholes at this moment. Just have your fucking Chinese food and chill out. Okay, my brain does this to me. It just rears up. It's like, and it starts like attacking me, and I'm just like, it's like this whole battle's in my head. So I'm like, Maggie, just calm the fuck down. Drink your sake. I told you it's a pattern. People start to like enrage me, and I'll just like, okay. So I just was like, don't go ape shit on this guy that's like maybe a decent person, although at this point I fucking hate him. Okay? So the sand dollar incident, and then he's like, maybe I'll be vegan. I'm just like, I'm gonna just eat vegan tonight. I was pissed after the sand dollar comment, but he redeemed himself by telling me he's a Wall Street banker. No, I'm just joking, but he did tell me about how much money he has and what he does for a living. This is complicated because the woman in me is like, gets her panties a little wet when a guy's like, yeah, I worked on Wall Street when I was 21. I basically am a trader. And I'm like, okay, what do you trade? He's gonna like, what do you trade? You know, I want to know. He's like, I'm the worst of the worst. I'm like, okay, tell me. You know, fucking tell me. And he's like, I trade like commodities, resources, oil, coal, shit like that. Then he's like, and it's all rigged. He said the system is rigged. And I realized as a young kid that the system is rigged and you're never gonna win. So if you can't beat them, join them. And I'm like, okay, you're making sense, but also it's really shitty that it's just like, okay, I was having these conflicting things. Like part of me was like, fuck, this guy's a baller. Yes, I know the system is rigged, and I know we exploit people and animals every step of the way. And it's disgusting, and the system is rigged for the rich to get richer and the poor and everybody else to be exploited so the rich can get richer. I was like, yeah, I'm like a borderline conspiracy theorist. I get the concepts. I've looked into this stuff. And then I was like, well, we might not get along because I'm working on a documentary about supply chains and technology and all of the minerals and chemicals that are in your phones and in your laptops. And you know what? I was in the Congo last year in Africa, and I saw the people being exploited. I mean, people have been exploited in Africa for friggin' centuries, and it's still happening today. And it's Chinese companies going in there and basically having the people work for next to nothing, mining this one mineral I used as an example was coltan, which is like a magnetic mineral, and it's in all of our technology. We literally cannot talk on the phone or even have a phone without it. And it's harming the earth, it's harming people, it's blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, that's probably my company. It's probably like the people that I work for. And I'm trained in, Mandarin and in like working with these kind of different cultures. And it's not just this culture, it's like all over the world. I go everywhere and I have to like deal with bankers and investment people and stockbrokers, and like that's like what I do. And like I was like, half of me was like, holy shit, you're the enemy, and the other half was like, fuck, that's hot. So he proceeded to tell me how he got into this, and everything is because like your background and your family, basically. So somebody's not going to get to this high level of trading and all of that without having family that was in it. So of course his dad and his mom are deeply entrenched in that world. That's how it works. That's why conspiracy theorists are like, oh, the top families have been in charge for fucking generations and generations and generations. They pass this stuff down. So he's one of those people. I didn't ask if he was like Illuminati or Freemason or anything, because I threw out like a little tiny like question about the pedophilia ring that just got busted. And he was like, oh, no, we like went to meltdown. Not that. So I don't know if he doesn't like know about those things, or I think he doesn't. I kind of felt like he's just into like the economics of it, and if we start talking like Satanism and freaky conspiracy theory stuff, like he can't even hang whatsoever. We get through dinner. Oh my God. I wonder how much I want to tell you guys, because stuff happened. We get through dinner. We walk up the road, and I'm like, curfew's at 10. I should probably be back. It's like 8:45 now, and he does this thing like, I'll make sure you get back, even if I have to get you a room at this huge hotel that we're walking by. And I'm like, okay, no, like you're not gonna get me a room at a hotel. You're basically saying, it's fine, you can sleep at my house, or you can, we'll get you a cab back. So I'm thinking at this point, I had made a decision at this point that I was a little drunk that I wouldn't mind sleeping at his house. Okay, so I forgot the sand dollar story, forgot it, how much I hated him, because I was enthralled with his money. I was enthralled with his life. The fact that he's been all over and that he's like a high roller, okay? I'm being honest. And he was my age. We were exactly the same age. So we go to this hotel and we get Blue Label Johnny Walker with a big cube like this size in the glass, and like a glass this big. I don't know what it costs at other places, but it was like $80. It's like $80 a shot. No, maybe it's not that much. Maybe the bottle. I don't know. It's an expensive scotch. And that was fun. Like, there's something that happens when a guy has money. It's just fun. It's like you want to play the role. You want to play the role if you're in an experience, if you're in public with a guy that's not 60 or 90 and looks like your sugar daddy, but he looks like he is your age. He looked way older than me. He couldn't believe my age, by the way. But so if he looks like a peer and he's got legitimate money, you're like, I could hang with this. And so part of my thought process was like, I can get used to this. I know that it's shallow, and I like to be totally honest with my feelings on this station, because I like to use it as a self-examination, because I can't help the thoughts and feelings that come up in the moment. I can act on them in different ways, but I can't help what they are. They come from somewhere. So I'm enjoying this performance we're making as this super cute couple. He was also dressed very nice and cool, like not overdressed, not underdressed. And so we're like at this super high-end hotel drinking these great expensive scotches and that I had never had. Of course, he paid for dinner, so I'm grateful for the dinner. I'm grateful for the drink, even though it started off really bad and I thought he was a monster, and I still do. Like, he had interesting things to say, and because he's traveled everywhere, so he could be like, oh, this is what Singapore is like, and then I was like, oh, I was in Portugal and this happened, and so it was fun to like talk with somebody that's been around. It's better than going on a date with somebody that hasn't traveled at all. And like my the douchebag dude, he'd been to Europe, and that was the only place he'd ever been to. So we couldn't really talk anything other. And then when he would talk about Europe, I'm talking about the douchebag. I did a video about this other guy I dated. And it wasn't like he'd ask me any questions, or he could hang with like, I was like, oh, I lived in Qatar. You know, like the douchebag probably doesn't even know where that is. This guy is like, oh, yeah, I had a client there, and I had to fly in through Dubai one day. And then I was like, oh, my God, yeah, Dubai was great. I did this. So, like, I like being able to, like, kind of, there's, like, a level of, like, you can kind of play tennis a little bit back and forth. And if somebody's skilled at dealing with different cultures and in different countries, they know how to listen and adjust a statement to like be interesting for both parties. So they're not just making it about them, because they're not going to get along in business if it's just about them. They have to have social skills to be able to like make it interesting for everybody. So this guy was using his skills on me, and we were having great conversation, which was a stark contrast from my other dude who's just like a dumbass and couldn't, like, everything was about him. He didn't have to develop these social skills to deal on multiple levels with high-end people all over the world like this guy did. So I was like recognizing that and enjoying it. So we go to and then he I wanted to like walk on the beach, but he wasn't about the beach. So sometimes these guys aren't like as scrappy and adventurous, these high-end guys, like as I am. So I wanted to like take off my shoes, and he was like, no, you don't know what's in the sand. I'm like, what? Like, it's not going to be a syringe or something. Like, so he has this like fearful mentality. And I had this on the table to show you. He has like his mask in a baggie, you know, and he's talking about how afraid he is of coronavirus and how people are so stupid not to wear masks. And I have to at this point like shut my mouth, because I wanted to be like, oh, really? Is it really passed on through asymptomatic carriers? You know, isn't it about government control? You know, we start, like, I mentioned one thing about Trump, and he's just like, immediately is like, I don't want to talk about politics. So he made a few statements just basically saying he's a Democrat, he's super left, he's really proud of his ideas, he's really like proud almost of being scared of the virus and doing for the greater good. And I'm trying to bring about part of me that's like, okay, Maggie, don't just run your mouth. Because guys like this, you start telling them your opinions and they think you're just a dumbass, which I don't like that. It's also part of the guys that have the money being the ones in control. So it's like their territory. You know, they pay for dinner. They've got the cash. Like, you're basically playing a role that they have decided you play. And you're either knowing you're playing that role, or you are not knowing it. Everything in life is about awareness. So I knew at this point the role I was playing, which was hot chick that can hang in conversation and is entertaining him enough so he doesn't hate me, and he'd probably bang, because like guys bang anybody or anything. So I'm aware of this, and I'm not going to like let loose with my conspiracy theories, because I had touched a little bit how I felt, and he didn't want to hear it. So he's immediately like shutting me down. But I'm used to this. I'm used to like everybody plays like this. Nobody's like actually like, let's talk about this. Unless it's like I said, like a red state guy that's super cool. But a lot of times with, I don't want to just, generalize, but a lot of times with like red state homeboy people, they just like, they're used to America. And they haven't ran in circles that are like this high as with this guy. So they don't have the social skills or the, the knowledge of different cultures. So I like both. But I realize I can't have everything. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So sometimes you just have to suck it up. I mean, I'm not everything either, okay? I'm like a kooky bartender. What the fuck am I? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, like, a million things. I am who I am. So I need to just chill out and be love, which is what I was trying to do on this date. So we're sipping our scotches with our big ice cubes, looking out at the ocean in this very nice hotel, and I'm enjoying the ambiance. There's like this huge rock. It's a big piece of coral. It was super epic. And I'm like in the moment. I'm enjoying all of this, and he like kisses me. And that was cool. So I didn't mind. He didn't have bad breath. He was an okay kisser. You know, he wasn't the douchebag guy. I loved kissing him. He was an okay kisser, and I was into it. So we kiss. And then it got a little like hot and heavy, you know, and then the hormones take over. And so he's like, come back to my place with me. So I go back to his place, which he has renovated a house that his family had built. So he's family money. You know, he's got a huge place on the beach, almost like a compound that he's renovating. It's 3 floors, huge rooftop. He's got some family members staying there. It's like a younger cousin. He's staying there so he can work with all the contractors on like the rebuild or whatever. So I'm like, okay. It's kind of messy, but we go back. Okay, how much do I get into? We go back. I start to get a little sober at this point. And I'm like thinking, you know, it's always the battle in my head with a new guy. I'm like, do I want to bang him or do I want to? It's like weird though, because you get to a certain point, there's like no turning back. I mean, you can, but you kind of like, So I'm kind of getting sober. I get another beer when I'm there, and we go back to his bedroom, which is the only air-conditioned room in the whole place. And we just kind of start making out. And I'm like touching his body a little bit, and I'm realizing it's like a dad bod in a way. There's like a stomach there, you know, like a lot of extra love handles. It's the bod of a Wall Street banker that eats like shit but goes to dinners everywhere. So he's eating fucking squid in Hong Kong and thick custard for dessert. I mean, when you have tons of money, you can eat really well, and it shows in your body. And I was just like kind of feeling all this. See, there's the fucking fly again. Fuck you. So I'm feeling his body, and I'm not that attracted to it. And so like we get a little bit more intimate, and like I start touching his penis because that starts to happen. It's pretty good. So we get hot and heavy. We're kissing a little bit, and I don't know. I don't feel super. I don't want to like go into like the details of it, but we banged. And it was honestly not that great. It wasn't that great. I was just not into it, but I tried to get into it, but it's just like I wasn't like getting there. I wasn't getting there. It was the opposite of what happened with douchebag guy, the guy from my other video, and I just couldn't help but kind of compare a little bit. And so it was fine. It all happened. Everybody finished, including myself, but it like wasn't as fun as I wanted it to be. And I know like first times aren't fun all the time. They get better, but it's not like a marathon bang out that I'm going to get with the other guy, which I like still miss him to this day. I wish I could like combine the two of them. even then they're both like super left in their ideology, so it's still like I need a third. I need to combine. I need the three guys to work together to be one human that I can. But so that happened. I go to bed, and I'm like, I need to take my contacts out. So this is like somebody needs to like develop a product that like a little contact case and solution that you can just like have on your purse as a keychain or something. Because if I stay at a guy's house, he never has an extra contact case. Guys, get an extra contact case, an extra solution for when you have girls over, because it would like help us out so much. I always have to fucking put my contacts in shot glasses or something. And then you like leave them somewhere and you don't know if they're going to be there the next morning. Like, did somebody accidentally drink your contact? So I have one pair of contacts left because COVID and it's Puerto Rico and I had to get a trial pair and